Chapter 4, Gangland. By the time I hit my mid-teens, I knew the streets were no joke. Gangs ran Berry Park like it was their own personal empire, and honestly, they had a grip on most of Luton too, especially when it came to sketchy business like drugs and prostitution. Now let's talk about the name Gambino. That doesn't exactly scream Pakistani Kashmir, does it? More like NYC mob bosses and drive-bys. But for real, the so-called Gambinos of Luton were out here running the game, leading the Pakistani gangs that took over the town in the 90s. The Reds, Raja Crew, Yellows, Chudari and Jat Fams, plus the Khwajas, Khans, and Ghafoors, they all fought for control like it was some real-life GTA storyline. We're talking drugs, fraud, robbery, money laundering, protection rackets, you name it, they were on it. Apparently, these Muslim gangs originally popped up to fight off football hooligans, since Luton Town's Kenilworth Road Stadium was right in their hood. Luton's football scene had its own wild boys, like the Bolts and the Migs, men in gear. My own fam had some big names in the Migs, so as I got older and got in football, I ended up right in the chaos too. Who started it first, the football mobs or the Muslim gangs? No clue. But one thing was clear, safety in numbers was the move. Fast forward a few years, and these Muslim crews weren't just scrapping over turf anymore. They went full-on cartel mode, running massive drug deals, protection rackets, and even prostitution rings. Basically, Luton became a knockoff version of the New York Mafia. Oh, and by the way, I ain't calling these crews Asian. That's some politically correct nonsense. I'm not talking about Chinese, Japanese, or Koreans. These guys were from Pakistan and Bangladesh and saw themselves as Muslim first. So why is it such a touchy subject to just call them what they are? Luton's Muslim community mostly came from Pakistan, especially Kaib loyalty was everything. And let's be real, that mindset totally shaped how the gangs operated. Runley Road boys versus the Saints boys, a real-life gang war. So years later, two rival gangs, Runley Road boys and the Saints boys, who used to go to Chowney boys' school together, got caught up in some next-level beef. It escalated so badly that one night, they went at it armed to the teeth. We're talking cricket bats, baseball bats, a machete, and even a samurai sword. Wajid Khan, the supposed leader of the Saints, was rolling through Luton with his squad, all strapped with weapons, ready to throw hands. They ran into the Runley Road boys, and boom, it popped off. Wajid's crew bailed, leaving him behind, and the Runley boys beat him down. 30 to 40 hits, brutal as hell. He died from massive brain injuries. Now, guess how long the Runley boys got? For literally killing someone in the street with bats? Life? 10 years? Nah, fam. The longest sentence was 5 years. One dude got just 3. To put that into perspective, I got almost the same sentence for helping my wife's brother with a house deposit. Make it make sense. Mark Sharp's murder, a straight-up injustice. Another messed-up case in Luton was the murder of Mark Sharp. This was peak road rage gone deadly. In 1995, Mark, a 37-year-old dad, was heading to a takeaway when some guys cut him off in traffic. He wasn't having it, so he flipped them off. You know, standard stuff. But these guys, they were not about to let it slide. Even though Mark was alone with his young son and they were 4 deep in the car, they called for backup. Then, on Hightown Road, they jumped him, armed with metal bars and a snooker cue. They beat him senseless, dropped him to his knees, then one of them stabbed him in the head. Even after he was down, they kept stomping him out. Mark survived for 3 days but didn't make it. Now, 2 of them got life sentences for murder. But get this, 3 others got off easy with just 4 years for manslaughter because the judge told the jury that if Mark had done or said anything that might make a reasonable young Asian male react violently, then it wasn't full murder. Bruh. Excuse me, what? What does being Asian have to do with this? It wasn't about being Asian, it was about being Muslim. Dude literally got jumped and murdered over a road rage incident, but somehow the judge made it sound like it was understandable. For a lot of people in Luton, that was the final straw. Non-Muslims started dipping out of the city. Mark's own family left town completely. And honestly, even now, people are still leaving. Final thoughts, no cap. This whole chapter just shows how Luton's gang scene went from small-time beef to full-on organized crime. The system? Clearly broken. The justice system let killers walk free while punishing regular people for way less. And in the end, Luton became a place where whole communities felt unsafe enough to just leave. And that's the realest thing about it. This wasn't just gang stuff. This was about power, fear, and a system that let it slide.